you, Evie. G-Max, welcome. Thanks for joining in our program today. Do you mind telling us where you're joining in from? Oh, from Ibadan, Nigeria. Wow, that's great. Thanks for joining in. I hope you will have a very enjoyable session with us today. So yes, we're just waiting. For all to share and invite your friends to join us this. I can see Salvation just joined us. Hi, Salvation. Well, I'm not sure if that's your name, but that's the name on the screen here. Welcome, and thanks for joining us for this session this month. Do you mind letting us know where you're joining in from? You can type in the chat box to just say where you're joining in from. Oh, wow, from Nigeria. That's good. Thanks for joining in, and I hope I imagine that your expectation for today's seminar is quite high, and hopefully we should be able to meet it. And then we want to encourage you to, if you can, share the invite to your friends. You never know who might need some words from the sessions and who we would encourage. So you can set the invite out to your friends. We will be having a raffle draw at the end for the person who has invited the people the most. So just share out and send the word out to your friends so they can come and benefit as you do as well from the session. Thanks once again for joining. So we're just waiting to allow other people join in the session before we kick off. Hi, Joe. I can see Joe. Welcome, Joe. If you can just pop in the chats where you're joining us from, that will be great. Hi, Somi. I don't know if I pronounced it right. Welcome to today's session. Welcome to everyone who has joined us. We are just allowing some time so that others can also join us before we kick off with the seminar today. Hi, Somi, welcome. Thanks for joining in. Do you mind popping in the chat to let us know where you're joining in from? Also, Joe, if you can do the same, that would be great, just so we know like the geographical spread of where our audiences are joining in from. Oh, wow, Somi joining from Nigeria, that's great. Thanks for joining the session today. So just want us to join in, and then before we kick off the seminar for Oh, Joe, you're joining from Niger State, Nigeria. Wow, that's very great. That's quite interesting and encouraging. Welcome. And just the way you received the invite and you've been joining us on a regular basis, you can do well to forward the invite to your friends, to your family, share on your WhatsApp, to your WhatsApp contacts, to your social media channels, if you've got one, and just spread the word out there, because you never know who might benefit as you have been benefiting from this seminar. So we encourage everyone to, spread the word out, because as we all know, the sessions are always, very beneficial to everyone who joins in. There is always one or two things that you can, pick from there that would help not just your mental well-being, but your overall well-being. Once again, thanks for joining. So we are still just allowing a few minutes. I think we'll kick off round about 3:10 or thereabout-ish for the seminar, just to allow a lot more people to join. So for those who've already joined us, it'll be interesting to know how many of these sessions you've attended. I mean, just to know, you can pop in the chat to let us know how many of the sessions that you have joined in. I know that, it's been a while we've been hosting these seminars. So it'll be nice to know if you've joined us for the first time, if you're joining us, just so we have an idea as to how beneficial this session. I think it's nice to know it's your first time to join us, and I hope that this wouldn't be your last. And hopefully that the presentation today to join us on the sessions that we would host in the coming months. Oh, that's great to know. Wow, Joe, this is your third. That's encouraging. Nice. And also for Uncle Chimex. Oh, yeah. Good to know. Thank you for being with us all these months. Thank you so much. We really do appreciate that you make our time to join us for these sessions. We really do appreciate that. And we hope that it has always been beneficial, that each of the times you spent with us in these sessions have been very beneficial to you and also to your friends, as I imagine you would obviously be sharing, the knowledge and the learnings you've got from here with your friends, family, and associates as well. Yeah. That's good to know, Joe. That has been very beneficial. So yeah, we hope to keep up doing this. So it's very encouraging. Yeah, love it, Chukura. Well, oh, I think that audio isn't completely connected yet. Hi, Lovette. Nice to have you here. Thanks for joining in for today's session. Do you mind popping in the chat to let us know where you're joining in from? And then, yeah, if you can let us know whether it's your first time or second time, that'll be good as well. Just to know how, whether our sessions have been beneficial and to how many people, just to get a sense of how we've been doing, with these sessions and, yeah, the impact it's making, to the people who's been attending. I suppose because if you're attended once and you don't get anything out of it, you probably wouldn't want to join again. So If you can let us know, if you can pop in the chat to let us know where you're joining from, whether it's your first time, that would be great. Thank you. Yeah, we have I'm not sure what the name is. Omeje. Yeah. I imagine. Is that an Omeje who's just joined us? Welcome. And we're just waiting for people to join in the session before we kick off. So we'll be starting in a couple of minutes, but we just want to allow some time for others to join in before we start. Yes, so we're there, and I want to say thanks for joining us. So we will be in a brief moment, we will be starting the program in a very short while. I'll just give you a few more seconds and a few more minutes for people to join in before we kick off. Yes, so we are starting off now, and as we begin, I just want to say on behalf of FACEYOUTH, welcome to all those who have joined us for the FACEYOUTH Mental Health Awareness and Stigma Reduction Initiative Seminar for this month of January 2023. As you know, it is the first edition of our seminars for this year, 2023. And as we have just begun the new year, we believe that this new year, 2023, will be a year full of positive and great achievements for every one of us and for our families and for friends. We welcome all those who are joining us. Appreciate all of our attendees who regularly join us in these monthly seminars. I want to say thank you to you in a special way for always being with us. And I hope that today's session will also be as rewarding to you as the past sessions you have joined us in. As you know from the invite that was sent out, our topic for this month's seminar is trauma management. Yes, trauma management. I mean, trauma probably might sound like a huge word, but believe you me, it might be something which each and every one might have experienced at some point in their lives. So we will be, our topic today, we will be on trauma management. So to enlighten us on this topic today, we have a renowned speaker who has got very vast knowledge on this topic. And the speaker is in the person of Joyce Lee. Joyce is a trauma and empowerment coach, and she specializes in helping people especially women, overcome their low self-esteem, anxiety, and depression through trauma healing. So our guest speaker, Joyce Lee, she's based in Australia, and we really would have loved for her to be joining us live from Australia, but due to the time difference, it probably be about 2 a.m. In Australia at the moment. So she's not able to join us live for today's seminar. But that is not to say we are missing her, because she has very kindly sent us a video recording of her presentation on the topic. So she has sent us the video on the topic trauma management, so which will be playing for us to listen to today. So as we listen to her video, we'll obviously get to know more about who Joyce is when we play the video. But before we get to that, I would like to invite Chinwe Chukwura. Chinwe is a co-founder of FACEYOUTH, to say a few words about FACEYOUTH and what we do. So over to you, Chinwe.
Okay, thank you, Kechi. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you once again for joining us in our monthly seminar. I would talk a little bit about FACEYOUTH, what we do. FACEYOUTH actually stands for Foundation for Advancement of Child Education and Youth Empowerment, and it's a grassroots inspired charitable organization. And what we do is that we are committed to improving the lives of disadvantaged children and youths all over the world. And we do this through a lot of initiatives, provision of food supplies. We support the quality education, ensuring that our youths and the children have quality education. Poverty alleviation is also one of the strategies that we employ in FACEYOUTH, as well as a provision of vocational and skills program for the empowerment of the youths. And over the years, we've been able to support a lot of families. The Christmas that just went by, we was not left out. We were able to provide for a significant number of families through our different initiatives, providing for the less privileged and for young adults, right? Apart from providing for all of this, we also know that the mental health of people is also just as significant as your physical well-being. And that is why we started this initiative for mental health awareness that we carry out every month. And today, as Nkechi has rightly talked about, we will be handling trauma management. And I believe that, from the feedback we've got from most of you who have been in these sessions for more than one time, it's always very beneficial what we learn here and the information that we receive here. And I want to strongly believe that today's session will be beneficial to every one of you. I'd like to say a very big thank you to everyone who has joined, and I wish you a very lovely time here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chinwe, for that brief introduction on FACEYOUTH and the exaltation, just to encourage everyone that has been benefiting from this session, to spread the word out there. You never know who this seminars is going to help, who needs, some kind of help. So we never know, but the more we spread the word out there, the more we are able to reach out to a lot more people, and a lot more people are able to benefit from this little work that FACEYOUTH is doing in this regard. So like Chinwe mentioned, if you'd like to partner with FACEYOUTH, if you would like to do anything, with us, please do get in touch, whether to partner or to support or volunteer. We are more than we're happy to, to welcome any of such gestures. So do well to get in touch. For those of you who are joined us online, our details will be posted in the chat. And those who are joining us from the center, you can kindly contact Ify at the end of the session. So just a few things before we proceed. So as you can would have observed as you joined, and the seminar is being recorded and it's being broadcast live on FACEYOUTH Facebook channel. So the recordings would also be posted on FACEYOUTH YouTube channel as well. So as you have logged in and accepted, to be part of this session, for those of us who've got, our pictures and all that showing on the screen, you've given your consent to be shown in the recording, all your names or details, if at all they show in the recording. Everyone would, have a reduced noise so that we can all hear whoever is speaking, or, the presentation as it's been made loud and clear. So as I mentioned earlier, our guest speaker, unfortunately, is not joining us live, but we are definitely going to get the full benefits, of her knowledge when we watch and listen to the presentation. But then I know we may have questions we would like to ask following on from, the information she provides us in the presentation. So, but not to, be disappointed, because you can still be able to send her the questions and she can respond to you. So we will be sharing her email and social media handle contacts at the end of the presentation, so you can send any questions you have. Normally, this would also be interactive if the speaker was to be live. So, but that is not to say that we wouldn't give people the opportunity to, if there is anything that resonates, with you, we would like to share with everyone at the end of the presentation, we would definitely welcome and, give such opportunity to anyone who would like to take advantage of that. So now moving on to our main business of the day, which is the presentation by our guest speaker, Joyce Lee. I would now put up her presentation for us to watch and listen to. So I invite us all to sit back and enjoy the presentation. Oh, sorry.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak on this stage. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be able to share my knowledge to you. So just to introduce myself quickly, my name is Joyce Lee, and I am a women's trauma and empowerment coach based in Sydney, Australia. I specialize in helping women overcome low self-esteem and anxiety through trauma healing. So today I'd like to speak on the topic that relates to mental health. So specifically, I'd like to talk about how childhood trauma, our painful experiences in childhood, how that can lead to low self-esteem, which then leads to mental health issues down the road. So studies have shown that self-esteem is associated with anxiety, depression, stress, and it can also have links to suicidal ideation. And hopefully by the end of this, you will have an idea of why this is the case. So first off, trauma is not what most people think it is. And to illustrate this point, I'm going to share my story. So I grew up in a middle-class home where money was never an issue. We were comfortable. We never had to struggle. And I also had a stay-at-home mom where I basically got her attention whenever I needed it. She was always there to support us. So on the surface, I had a pretty good childhood. There was nothing alarming, nothing like abuse or anything that really stood out as unhealthy or, a danger to us. And as an adult, I was actually quite successful on the surface as well. I went to a good uni. I graduated with first class honors. I used to be an analytics consultant at a prestigious firm. And it is safe to say that I was doing pretty well myself. But deep down, I was actually struggling with low self-esteem and social anxiety for most of my life. But at the time, I didn't know that that was a problem. I didn't even know I had these issues. So how that would show up in my life is I would struggle to speak up in meetings. And it was to the extent that my boss would pull me aside and ask me, why can't you just speak up? And you can imagine how awkward it is when I would attend meetings and I would just keep quiet while everyone has a discussion. This was definitely not a good thing for my career. I would also struggle to ask for help. And this would make my work a lot harder than it needed to be because I would try to figure things out myself rather than ask people for help. On the surface, this can seem like stubbornness, but truth is, from a trauma perspective, I was really afraid to ask for help because to me, asking for help was an inconvenience to others. It was a burden to other people. And the last thing was I would also obsess over the tiniest mistakes. So even after work, I would go home and in my mind, I would just be constantly reviewing what I might have done wrong during the day. So there was a lot of rumination, a lot of overthinking and being worried about making mistakes, even though it probably didn't exist. So at the time, I used to think that this is just how everyone was. Everyone was living with some level of stress. This was normal. And it was also possibly part of my personality to be shy and quiet and not wanting to talk. That was how I explained it to myself. And it was until when I learned about trauma that I realized these thinking and behavioral patterns were actually unhealthy. And the reason I was this way was not because I was born this way or that it was my personality. It actually had to do with my past experiences in childhood. It had to do with my trauma. So I tell you the story because I like to learn. We can go on to have successful and high-achieving lives, but it doesn't mean we're healthy on the inside. It doesn't mean we do not have trauma. And truth is, if you asked me back then, I would have said, no, I don't have trauma. I mean, I'm living a pretty good life. So this leads to my next point. What is trauma? So when we say trauma, we often think of violence, war, assault, sexual abuse, something really big and dramatic. And yes, that is trauma. But there's also a different kind of trauma that often goes unseen. And we call this little t trauma. And these are actually very ordinary, everyday things that we might even think is acceptable. So it's things like being humiliated at school, frequently being criticized, being left out, feeling neglected, feeling unseen and unheard. So what is trauma then? Trauma is actually anything that is too overwhelming for the system to process in the moment. It is not defined by what happened to us. It is actually how we process the event in the moment. So this is basically any event that is too overwhelming for us. So anything that could have happened too fast, too soon, or too big. This means that the same traumatic event that happens to two people, one person might be traumatized because it was too overwhelming for them. but the other person might not. So how does trauma affect us? Trauma leaves a traumatic imprint in us. So there are two ways this happens. One, it is stored in our nervous system in our body. And the thing is, even if something happened in our childhood, and even if we don't consciously remember it today, the trouble is our body remembers it. And it shows up in our lives, later on in our lives, as a reaction. And this is what we call triggers. So if you're somebody who is triggered easily or have an overreaction to things, and you find that you don't know why you react that way, why you have such a big emotional outburst, there is a chance that it could be trauma stored in your nervous system. The second way trauma can affect us is that it affects our beliefs about ourselves and the world. You see, as children, when we are born into this world, we are trying to make sense of who we are in relation to this world. So it's things like, am I worthy? Am I lovable? Am I important enough to get attention from people around me? Are people going to meet my needs? Is it safe for me in this world? And we learn these things through our relationship, our very early relationships with our caregivers. And these beliefs that we learn, it actually forms our core beliefs about then bring with us into our adulthood. And this is how our childhood can actually affect the way we see ourselves well into adulthood. So let me give you an example of how this happens. Imagine one day, Dad comes home from work. He had a really bad day at work. So he was feeling really edgy, impatient, and he just wanted some peace and quiet. But the child was really excited to see Dad. So she runs to Dad and starts asking lots of questions, telling Dad everything that happened in her day. And Dad hit his limit. And he started yelling at the child. Stop asking me questions. Stop bothering me. And told the child to go to your room. Then the child goes into the room feeling really upset, feeling rejected. How does this get stored in the nervous system? The nervous system captures signs from the event and remembers it as a threat. This is the way we were designed. It is a way to protect ourselves. So in this instance, it could be that she remembered a male figure, an authority figure, or someone bigger and taller than her as a threat. And when she's an adult, whenever she comes across an authority figure or someone who is male, she might see herself freezing up. She might feel like she can't speak up. And rationally, she knows that there's nothing to be afraid of. There's nothing wrong with speaking up at work. But for some reason, she just finds herself unable to do so. And this is because the body remembers. So even though it was so long ago, even though she can't consciously remember this incident, her body has stored signs of the event as a threat. And the thing is, the nervous system is always scanning our environment, detecting threats as a way to protect ourselves. And so this is how trauma can affect us in one way. And to be honest, this is certainly my experience. When I experienced social anxiety, I would freeze in the face of authority, and I didn't understand why. And the thing is, when it comes to trauma, because trauma is stored in the body, you have to work with the body to release it. Working with the mind alone is not going to be effective. So, for example, I couldn't talk myself out of my trauma response. I couldn't tell myself that there's nothing to be afraid of, so, you can relax now. That doesn't really work. You have to work with the body. So the second way trauma affects us is it affects our belief system. So going back to this example, when the child goes back to her room feeling really upset and really rejected, she starts to create a story in her mind to make sense of what happened. And here's what you need to bear in mind. Children do not have a developed prefrontal cortex. This is the part of the brain that has critical thinking capabilities. So this child doesn't know how to consider the fact that dad had a bad day, or dad is just really impatient, and that it wasn't actually her fault. So what tends to happen is children tend to think that everything is about them. Everything is their fault. And so they take things personally. So in this case, the child might start to think, I'm not important. Nobody cares about me. I'm not lovable. I'm not worthy of attention. Asking questions is not safe. Asking questions is a burden to other people. It's not okay to speak up. And this is how our belief systems are created. And the thing is, if you're exposed to such an environment over and over, which is often the case in family systems, over time, your beliefs get reinforced over and over and over again. And eventually, by the time you're an adult, you would have a lifetime of reinforcement. And so that becomes the way you see yourself. So if you had a belief like, I'm not good enough, I'm unworthy, I'm not lovable, these negative beliefs about yourself becomes the only way you know how to see yourself. And this is what causes low self-esteem, having negative beliefs about ourselves. So this child, for example, could go on to be successful and have a great life on the surface, but deep down, she's still driven by these beliefs of, I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable. And there is a difference between someone who is high achieving, but comes from a place of true confidence and healthy self-esteem, where they don't let their work define them, they don't let their achievements define them, versus someone who comes from a place of lack, who constantly needs to prove themselves, who feels like if they don't succeed, it means that they are not valuable enough, they're not worthy, and all that. So the person who comes from lack is always coming from a place of needing external validation to feel good about themselves. And as you can imagine, when we face life, we're going to have hardships in life. We're going to have failures. And failures, for example, would hit the person who comes from a place of lack a lot harder than it would hit a person who has a healthy self-esteem. So I hope you can see through my illustration that trauma affects our beliefs, and our beliefs form our self-esteem, which can then leave us more susceptible to mental health issues down the road. Having a healthy self-esteem is important. The way we think about ourselves is important. So before I leave you, I'd just like to give you a few tips. If you're someone who is struggling with low self-esteem, try to take steps to build a healthier self-esteem. This will serve you in the long term. So these would be things like stop being so critical to yourself. Speak to yourself with kindness. Be your own best friend. Have some sort of mindfulness or meditation practice. Mindfulness and meditation, they help you detach from your thoughts. So as I talked about earlier, when we have beliefs, negative beliefs about ourselves, like we're not good enough, when we don't know how to detach from our thoughts, we believe it 100%. We think that is absolutely truth, when in fact, it may not be. It is just your programming. And learning to detach from your thoughts will give you that space to see that maybe your thoughts are not true. You know, maybe it's just your programming. And when you're able to detach from your thoughts, you create more room to consider other possibilities. The next one is start focusing on your strengths instead of your weaknesses. If you've been programmed to always focus on the negative, that is going to be your habit. That is going to be your default way of thinking. But what you want to do is proactively start thinking in a positive way. Proactively start focusing on your strengths instead of your weaknesses. The other thing is to surround yourself with supportive people. People who would be encouraging, who would be accepting of you, and who are positive. And try to stay away from people who reinforce your negative beliefs. So people who are always critical of you, people who are always telling you how you're not good enough, those kinds of environment will just reinforce your beliefs over and over again. If you're a parent with young kids, here's what I want you to know. Children are meaning-making machines. They are constantly making meaning out of their experiences. So be mindful of the meaning they might be taking away from their experiences, especially experiences where there is intense emotions, like when they're really angry or when they're really upset. Be proactive at explaining to them what is really happening so that they don't take things the wrong way. And lastly, if you're a parent of someone with low self-esteem or mental health issues, try to be mindful of the beliefs you might be unintentionally reinforcing. Truth is, as parents, you try to do your best, but you don't do any harm intentionally. But sometimes out of habit or out of cultural norms, we might, unconsciously pass on certain beliefs that are not healthy. It could be things like always pointing out faults, making comparisons, being overly critical. So just be mindful of the message you're sending. And lastly, try to be a safe person emotionally and mentally. This is important for anybody who is supporting people with mental health issues. But that being said, it is easier said than done. So what does it mean to be a safe person? So it means you're able to hold space for someone else's experience and feelings without making them feel like it's wrong to experience or feel those things. The thing is, everybody's experience and feelings are valid. But there is a chance that you might feel like it is wrong to feel that way. And it is best to hold back that kind of comments, to not make that person feel like it's wrong to feel that way. It's best to approach it from a place of no judgment and to just really allow that person to feel their feelings and to process their thoughts. This is actually one of the reasons why people would hire an external therapist, because holding safe space for people is actually not a simple task. All right, so that is all. I hope that was a valuable session. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me. You can reach out to me via email. My email is joyceleehealing@gmail.com. I'm also on LinkedIn and Instagram. And I believe my social media handles and my details will be shared over. So once again, thank you so much for having me. And I hope you learned something from this. And thank you and bye.
Wow. I mean, I wish she was here. And what I was going to say is thank you so much for that very brilliant, insightful, and informative presentation. I mean, for me, it was an eye-opener. We go about talking about, oh, trauma, but just like she said, the reality is each and every one of us probably would have had such experience, but maybe as we grow into adulthood, we probably may have, devised a way to overcome them, or just do, because she said something important, which is that it doesn't mean that we don't have trauma, even if we grow to be successful. That was a very deep one for me. And I believe for each one of us here, there must have been, something that we have taken away from this. And before I forget, I just want to share her details as I speak. Just so that, just give me a moment. I'm trying to, oh, sorry. No, sorry, not that. So I'm trying to see if I can share her details. Yes, we have it. I'm just trying to pull it up so that anyone who's got a question can, yes, so that's her email address and her social media handle. So if you want to send her any questions, if you want to, have any feedback or anything, or just get in touch with her for any further information or further discussion, these are her details to reach her by. Honestly, I mean, I wish she was here. And I know that the way I feel is the way most of us feel as well, because it was quite an insightful session. I think the key things that she did mention, which I think might just be worth mentioning or just recapping on, is the fact that she states that trauma really is anything that is too overwhelming for one's system to process in the moment that that thing happens. I mean, just like she said, two people could have the same experience. One may end up being traumatized, whereas the other one may not be. It's all a question about whether and how each of them felt in the moment from that experience. If you are overly overwhelmed by that experience, then that could be traumatic for you. And then going on, she said that it's trauma essentially affects our belief, and then our belief affects our self-esteem. And then our self-esteem, of course, can affect our mental health. How powerful can that be? I believe, I mean, I didn't know about it until today. So, and I suppose it might be the same for everyone. So how powerful trauma can be in our, mental well-being and our overall well-being as well. But she didn't leave us just hanging with the knowledge, but she also provided some help in terms of suggestions as to how we can build our self-esteem. And she said we could do that by stop being overtly critical of ourselves, by being your own best friend, by, practicing mindfulness and meditation, because they help us to detach from ourselves, by focusing on our strengths and not on our weaknesses, and also surrounding ourselves with supportive people, and ultimately staying away from negative people or those who reinforce, our negative belief. Wow. I'm still much like, in awe of the information she's giving us in that presentation. And please, if you have any questions, take down her details as they are being shown on the screen, and then do send it over to her, as she will be more than happy to respond and provide answers to that. So, like I said earlier on, I don't know if we have anyone. Of course, normally if the speaker was live, it would have been an interactive question and answer session. But as she's not live here, we also want to give us the opportunity, if anybody wants to say anything, to share just 2 minutes to, to share anything that, resonates with them, or they feel they can share, maybe personal experience, just like she shared hers. Or if you don't want to speak, you can pop it in the chat. Yeah, so. But if anybody who may be joining online wants to say anything, you can raise your hand. Otherwise, I suppose we move on to the next item, which we have on our agenda for today. Okay, so I suppose we're all still digesting the information she gave us in that presentation. And then, yeah, so I'm moving on to our next program. For today, I want to invite our music artist for today in the person of Erica Chukwura. Erica, she's a 12-year-old and in high school, year 7. Erica loves to write, swim, and she loves to sing. She also aspires to be a medical doctor. So I want to welcome Erica.
Hi, I'm Erica Chikura, and I'm going to be singing We Write the Stars by Zac Efron and Zendaya. You know I want you. It's not a secret I tried to hide. I know you want me. So don't keep saying our hands are tied. You coming's not in the cards, and fate is pulling you miles away. And I would have reached from me, but you are here in my heart, so who can stop me if I decide that you're my destiny? What if we rewrite the stars? Say you made to be mine. Nothing could keep us apart. You were the one I was meant to find. It's up to you, and it's up to me. No one can say who we get to be. So why don't we rewrite the stars? Maybe the world could be ours tonight. You think it's easy. You think I don't want to run to you. But there are mountains, and there are doors that we can't walk through. I know you're wondering why, because it wouldn't be just you and me within these walls. But when we go outside, you're gonna wake up and see that it was hopeless after all. No one can rewrite the stars. How can you say you'll be mine? Everything keeps us apart, and I'm not the one you were meant to find. It's not up to you, it's not up to me, when everyone tells us what we can be. So how can we rewrite the stars? Say that the world can be ours tonight. All I want is fly with you. All I want is to fly with you. So just give me all of you. If it's impossible, it's not impossible. It is impossible. Say, is it possible? How do we rewrite the stars? Say you made to be mine. Nothing can keep us apart, 'cause you were the one I was meant to find. It's up to you, and it's up to me. No one can say what we get to be, but why don't we rewrite the stars? Changing the world to be ours. You know I want you. It's not a secret I tried to hide, but I can't have you. We're bound to break and my hands are tied. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, thank you, thank you so much, Erica, for that beautiful music, and what a wonderful, beautiful voice you've got. Thank you so much. Of course, we all can do little things in our own way to, change the world and make a whole lot of difference in this world. Thank you for that beautiful piece. And I believe that you've only just started and definitely will go places, as you grow. Thank you so much once again for serenading us this afternoon with your voice. And yes, so we are almost coming to the end of, I would say, the first part of Face Youth's program for today, because we also know that will be an anonymous event at the Face Youth Center in Aberdeen right after this seminar. So I just want to say, I don't know if anyone wants to say anything just before we wrap up in the next 1 or 2 minutes of the segments for the seminar before then the Art Anonymous program begins. I don't know if anybody wants to say anything, following on from the presentation we've just had, which was an awesome one and quite explosive and informative. But as it looks like nobody would like to say anything, I just want to, in the closing, say a very big thank you to, of course, Joyce Lee, although she's not with us here present, but she definitely would hear. We want to thank her in a special way for her wonderful and brilliant presentation, which was obviously an eye-opener in terms of what trauma can do in our lives and what we can do to minimize its impact or even get it off our bodies completely. Once again, I want to say thank you to our musician Erica for serenading us with her beautiful voice this afternoon. And to all of you who have made our time to join us today in this seminar, I want to say thank you. We are indeed grateful, for being with us, because without you, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be having these seminars. And we want to say we hope to see you again next time, as we want to believe that having joined us today, it has been a very rewarding and useful time, on the seminar for today. As Chinwe mentioned in her introduction at the beginning of the seminar, if you would like to partner with Face Youth or be a volunteer or support us in any way, please do get in touch with us, and our details will be posted in the chat. And for those who are live at the Face Youth Center, you can get in touch with Ify for the details. So on that note, I want to say thank you for joining us for this month's Face Youth Mental Health Awareness and Stigma Initiative Seminar. And we hope that you'll join us again next month for an informative and insightful session. Please, please, please do share our invites, do share the recordings when they are posted. You never know who is going to benefit, who is going to have, a life-saving experience from all this, because not just that our mental health is very essential and important, it has a very much high impact on our overall well-being. If your mental health is not in good shape, then your overall well-being definitely is not in a very good place. Once again,